Are you feeling a little lost or uninspired? Ready to add some serious sparkle to your life? Welcome to Coaching for Millennials, the podcast where we ditch the blah and say yes to your dreams. I'm your host, Jose Miguel Longo, a proud gay Hispanic husband, a dog dad, and a social justice warrior. For over a decade, I've been a career and life coach, helping folks like you uncover their passion and write their own career stories. Whether you're a Gen Xer, a Gen Y, or a Gen Z, this is your go-to guide for crafting a killer resume, finding your calling, and taking charge of your life. We'll dive deep and hold each other accountable and build a roadmap that leads you to a life that truly lights you up. So if you're ready to turn your fantasy into reality, tune in. It's time to unleash your passion because your purpose is waiting. This is Coaching for Millennials, and we're about to make some serious magic happen. Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Coaching for Millennials. My name is Jose Miguel Longo, and I am your host. Happy Tuesday. I'm doing it. I did it. We got 2 for 2, which is great. This has been a steady, let's say just a steady jog to get to this point. And if you're new here, what I'm referring to is I somewhat of a promise to myself, but also to all of you as my audience and listeners and subscribers. Thank you so much for following and watching and listening, that I would come back to creating 2 episodes a week. And I initially started doing 2 episodes a week way back when, I think in 2021, for a very brief moment in time. And then I woke up one day and thought I was really crazy because of how exhausting and hard it was to create content at that time with very limited resources and very limited technology. In today's world, we have a lot of tools that help us create technology at rapid speeds. So it's all about having the idea, having your content, being able to organize it and create concise workflows, which for me have been a game changer as I've continued to level up my podcasting, level up my video editing, and all the tools that I use. So all that to say that we're on that track of getting 2 episodes a week. And this is the second week that we are accomplishing that. Are accomplishing, a key word is there. But I'm so excited to be here with you. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your week. This week's episode is a theme that we've kind of been following from some of the things that I've been kind of referencing and talking about, where burnout seems to be the key theme here. And so this episode's focused on high functioning burnout, why you're exhausted even when you're doing fine. And doing fine in air quotations, because we all have a tendency of saying, I'm fine, I'm just fine. So let's kick this off here. So let me ask you a question. I love to ask people questions. It's what I do as an interviewer, as a podcaster. Have you ever looked at your life on paper and thought, I should be fine? The job is fine. The bills are paid. You're functioning. You're productive. But internally, you feel stretched really thin. You're irritable. You're detached. You're tired in your bones. And you're just kind of overall like not feeling good on the inside, but on the outside, you're kind of showing up in a different way. If you answered yes to any of these things and kind of nodded your head while listening, well, this episode is for you. And this episode is about the burnout that no one sees. So it's the high functioning burnout, which so many millennials, and it's not even just millennials, this is across generations. I think this is just a stigma that our society has continuously allowed to not have a conversation around. I think a lot of organizations, a lot of companies, and a lot of workplaces like to say that they don't want their employees to burn out, but as an employee, you're also responsible for calling it out when it's happening to you and leaning in for that support. So let's not get into all that just yet. First, I want to kind of lay out the groundwork here. So high functioning burnout is the kind where you're still succeeding but you're not okay. It's also the most dangerous part. So you don't look like someone who needs help. You look very capable. Anybody? And capable people really get checked on. So I can relate to this in so many ways. I remember in my last couple of years of higher education, I was hyper focused in creating a really successful program. And I felt really connected to the students, connected to the team that I was running, connected to the programming that I was creating, the employers coming in to support the students, the events that I was hosting, the workshops that I was creating. Like I felt like I was on cloud nine. And when I left higher ed to go pivot into the ed tech space, I realized how much I had hidden what was really burning me out mentally. And I found myself in a really vulnerable situation where I started to uncover a lot of deeper traumas that were hidden in the depths of what I was just going. I was waking up at, 5:15 in the morning, getting out of the house by, 6:45, getting to work by 7:45, starting my day and working till 6 p.m., coming home and the rinse repeat cycle. But I was so passionate and loving what I was doing that I was replacing that with something else. And it was very eye opening to realize when I left that environment, not that it was bad for me, because I was doing all the things. Like I said before, the bills were paid and things were good, but I wasn't good inside. And I covered one trauma, two, ADHD, and we can talk more about that in a completely different episode. And then three, what I was holding on to that really was so much more that I needed to really help create a conscious conversation in my head of when these symptoms of burnout were presenting itself and how I was going to lean in and ask for support. So the key thing here with what I just mentioned, not particularly around me, but with what I mentioned before in those questions I ask, is that capable people really get checked on. And most people who are high functioning and are being burnt out are people who oftentimes don't check on themselves and also don't get checked on by others. And the intention here is to identify what the burnout is, what's causing it, where is it coming from, and then also being able to find quick wins to keep you accountable while also being able to showcase what it is and having conversations with people, because I believe that a lot of people are living through this. And I will share here in just a few minutes, how this ultimately has played out also with some of the clients that I'm seeing and conversations I'm having lately with millennials. So before we dig into all the elements of this episode and all the points that I'm going to call out here, I want to jump into my personal segment, which I like to call what I'm liking, what I'm listening to, and what to look out for. So what I'm liking is also kind of what I'm listening to as well. But what I'm liking is I actually am about to finish one of two courses that are deeply focused on AI generation and AI prompting and AI agents. And I've pivoted into this space because I found myself creating so much content that as a solopreneur and as a coach, my brain always has so much things that I want to do. And I think AI is one of those places where we've had conversations here before on the podcast with regards to AI, focusing on the career elements, but not really talking about what it can do. So I will, once I'm kind of fully fledged out of the course environment and doing that work, I will come back and create an episode that just talks about how AI can really help you create concise and clear content for yourself and really using it to your advantage as fundamentally making your life easier. What I'm listening to. So if you're a millennial and hopefully maybe your younger kids, if you're someone who's from the Gen X generation, or maybe older kids at this point, Hillary Duff, Luck or Something. Um, I I came to know Hilary Duff when she played Lizzie McGuire on Lizzie McGuire on the Disney Channel. And I am 42. She's 38. This show was out and about on the Disney Channel in the late 2000s, early 2000s. And I only came to find out about it because of my sister, who, God rest her soul, she passed away in 2005. But when I relocated to upstate New York and I was figuring out my self and figuring out where I was going and what I was doing, meaning, where was I going to live? What was I doing with my life after I left a career in sales? in New York City, and then my identity, I spent a lot of time with my sister. And as kids, when we were really, really young, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I had this really love-hate relationship with my sister, and we would fight all the time, and we had nothing in common. But as almost full-fledged adults, I mean, my sister was definitely wise for her age. She, I think, would watch the Disney Channel as a way to cope with all the trauma that she was experiencing. We had really weird and shitty adolescence. I know I personally did. And from her perspective, looking back at it, I could see where some of her behaviors came from and why she behaved the way she did. And I truly would have done anything for her and wish she was here right now because she'd be 39 years old this year. And I could only imagine what a beautiful life she would have lived. But thinking back at to the situation with the Disney Channel, my sister Giselle, she would watch Lizzie McGuire like no one's business. And instead of fighting with her for the control to watch something else that my older age would want to, there's a 4-year age difference there. I would just watch it with her because it was just easier. And I wasn't in the mood to really fight with her. I wanted to not have that type of relationship. So I got sucked in to a lot of Disney shows. That Lizzie McGuire was one, The Wizard of Waverly, which is Selena Gomez. And I saw the evolution of this person and, the character they played, but also more importantly, the artist that they became. And I followed Hilary Duff throughout her career after Lizzie McGuire ended into the things that became acting. I love the show Younger. If you haven't watched Younger, I believe it's on Hulu. I believe it might be on Netflix now. I watched it when it was on TV Land. I love Sutton Foster. If you're a Broadway person, let's talk about it. Find me on Instagram. I love to talk about Broadway. But that show was something that I rewatched and finished watching during the pandemic. I didn't know that I needed that show so much in my life when the pandemic was happening, but also just to be that person who I saw myself in Hilary Duff's character, but also saw myself in Sutton Foster's character. Uh, but I digress. Hilary Duff, her new album, Luck or Something, is just a beautiful encapsulation of what we've missed the last, 10 or so years, 11 or so years since she put out new music. I think Breathe In, Breathe Out was her last album. And I love music. I love all genres of music. I will listen to anything that will make my head bop, anything that will make me hum, anything that I can sing to. And although I'm not a huge fan of country, I've seen that kind of pivot happen with country music from the dance evolution. And I'm also I'm probably a bigger fan of hip hop than I am of country, to be honest, because I grew up with a lot of people listening to hip hop. But as I morphed in my identity with music, just hip hop wasn't at the forefront of it. And I do enjoy it when I do get to find an artist that I really can connect to and what their messaging is. But Hillary's new album is just a wonderful little bubblegum pop, should I say? I'm just so here for it. What to look out for? So we have been chatting a lot about burnout, a lot about career burnout, the emotional intelligence, and this and that. So many different overarching themes here. So I know I've been talking about the job search strategy, and then last week I mentioned another guide that I'm working on. These things are coming very soon. And the reason that there's some delays is that one, it takes time to create these things. Two, and this is the biggest one, is that I am trying to transition to a new platform that will be my website, my course tool, my lead generator, excuse me, my sales page, all of the things, the opportunity to build a community. I've been living with the landing page for over 2.5 years at this point. And to me, it seemed like the easiest and quickest solution when I got tired and burnt out of creating websites. I've tried every single website, but this new tool that I've been checking out and slowly dipping into, I think will be the thing that hopefully I can come to use for a long time. And also something that was not super expensive. I'm just not that person that has as much as I want to learn how to build these things for myself, I'm just not the person that has the bandwidth to build them. I like to focus on the building piece, but I also like to be able to just get it done. So this tool is like a drag and drop. I don't want to mention what it is in case I don't decide to move forward with it, but I think I'm going to. I kind of like need to like really start to tighten my belt with getting it done. And hopefully it will be the thing that works for, many years to come. What to also look out for. I just got approved as a Better Business Bureau recognition. I don't even know what to call it. I know that last week I got a call from the Better Business Bureau. They were researching my business. They asked me if I had ever applied. I said no. Went through the whole process, literally just got the email this morning. So I will be putting that on all my social media and all of my content pages. Just super exciting because it's such a well-known organization that really prides itself in not just promoting businesses that have ethical practices, but also promoting businesses that are here for people and helping people. So I'm really excited about that. So confetti drop for that one. Okay. So let's get into this episode here. So I know I mentioned before the things that I'm kind of hearing in conversations in my coaching. And the thing that I've been noticing is that millennials are obviously high performing and emotionally depleted. And we're also the generation that survived the recession. Gosh, more than one, have adopted to constant workplace changes. We've pivoted careers. If you're at that mid career stage as an older millennial, or I don't want to say the G word, but let's just say older millennial, we've normalized therapy. Thank you so much, everyone, for talking about therapy, how important it is. I'm so here for it. And we've learned new technologies, one of them being AI, and we're now navigating how to disrupt that. So we've become obviously, very resilient as humans and as a culture and as a generation. But somewhere along the way, resiliency turned into endurance and endurance turned into exhaustion and exhaustion became normal, right? We all just keep going and don't stop. And although we ask for wanting to stop or ask for this idea of saying that we're going to, we don't. But the part that we need to talk about is really relevant to part of the conversation we had last week. And that was also, how to stay relevant without burning out. And so today we're digging into what happens when you didn't notice that you were getting burnt out and it crept up on you. So the first point here that I want to highlight is competency is hiding in your collapse. Such a deep and bold statement. Competency is hiding your collapse. We're all high functioning people. I think that the bulk of us millennial generation, and I could say probably some folks in the Gen X, not Gen Y, are very likely highly functioning as well. I think there's just a gap in how our generations have evolved. But I think this applies to any human being, right? If you're high functioning, your burnout is quiet, which means that you still show up, you still deliver, you still manage, and you still get praised. But internally, inside, you're short tempered, you're numb, you're not excited about anything. You feel like you're constantly catching up to finish the line that keeps moving. Anybody out there want to raise their hand? I'm taking a sip of my coffee. So here's the truth. When you're competent, people increase your capacity without you asking your consent. So you become the reliable one. You become the strong one, the one who can handle it. And after a while, you start believing that identity. Now, here's a reflection. Who would I be if I wasn't the strong one all the time? Ask yourself that question. Because that question hits at your identity. Something that I saw on Instagram, and shout out to Reese Witherspoon. I think it was something I was scrolling through and I saw. And she said she was getting off of a conversation with someone. And the person she was talking to she was really excited to connect with them. And the question I think was that Hillary, oh my gosh, Reese Witherspoon asked, "What are your talents?" And the person didn't know how to answer the question. It's the same thing of asking the question, "What are your skills?" Here, this question is, who would I be if I wasn't the strong one all the time? And that's a part of your identity. It's also going deeper into your identity. So let's go deeper because this isn't just about workload. This is about conditioning. This is something you done to yourself over a period of time. And it's a behavior, right? So let's get to point number two. Achievement became your identity, right? For many of us, achievement became emotionally safe. If I achieve, I'm valuable. If I perform, I'm secure. If I'm productive, I matter. So slowing down feels like a risk. Ultimately, it feels lazy. It sounds like a boundary that feels threatening, and it's stillness that feels unproductive. I can't tell you how many times I go crazy without doing something, and sitting still doesn't work for me. As someone who has ADHD, my brain doesn't know how to stop, but my brain is spinning in two different directions, and I've got I'm trying to create multiple directions so that I can continue to come back to the centerpiece. I can I can't imagine what it's like for someone who doesn't have ADHD or isn't neurodivergent. But in these instances, I think there's something that is really important to acknowledge that comes with this achievement of identity, and this identity that becomes the behavior where we feel safe as overachievers, we feel safe as high performers. So here's where I want to reframe this a little bit. If your nervous system only knows how to regulate through productivity, you will never feel safe resting. I'll say it again. If your nervous system only knows how to regulate through productivity, you will never feel safe resting. Now, that's not ambition, that's called conditioning. So, the reflective point here is if you stopped proving, and this is the question you probably should ask yourself. I'm saying it to you, but I'm going to read it as a question. If I stop proving myself, who would I be? Let that sit with you. Because high functioning burnout isn't always about work, it's about identity. Now, this leads us to the real root, which is burnout is misalignment. It's not a weakness. So, burnout doesn't mean you can't handle stress. Lord only knows we've been challenged in this generation. We've been challenged in our lives with multiple situations of high stress environments and high stress things that we can certainly handle. But if it means something is out of alignment, what do we do? Have you ever paused to question where you are in your identity and your work and where you are in your life? And what are the things that are creating this chaos for you in your nervous system and your gut? So here's some thoughts. Burnout doesn't mean you can't handle the stress. It means something is out of alignment. And maybe you've outgrown your role, you're overextending your capacity, you're absorbing too much emotional labor, you haven't redefined what success means anymore. Essentially, you've evolved, but your pace hasn't. And that's where the misalignment is happening. And misalignment is draining you very, very quietly. So, burnout is your body saying, this version of success is no longer sustainable. Now, a very important thing to know is that you're not failing. There's a big difference here. So, if you're recognizing yourself in this episode, don't just come to consume it, integrate it into your day to day. High functioning burnout doesn't go away because you listen to a podcast episode. It shifts when you change your behavior. And this week, I just don't want you to take one small step. I want you to take one honest inventory. Ask yourself, where am I performing wellness instead of actually experiencing it? I can't tell you how many people I talk to don't take that time for themselves, if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, to reframe, reconnect, realign in your brain, your breathing, your heart, your soul, whether it's in the shower with a hot, steamy shower and just closing your eyes and taking deep breaths, whether it's going for a walk and putting a podcast on, whether it's taking a journal and writing down your emotions and getting connected. You have to take an inventory of yourself and an honest one. So I want to give you some framing for this as you're kind of going through how this episode is really hitting you hard, because I know it's hitting all of you hard. So where am I performing oneness instead of actually experiencing it? Right? That's the work there. So here's the things. Identify one expectation you can release, identify one boundary you can set, and identify one conversation you've been avoiding. Now, I'm going to take it a little bit deeper for you. If this isn't just a rough week, if this feels like a pattern, then it's time for some structure. So high functioning burnout doesn't resolve with motivation. It resolves with clarity, boundaries, and intentional recalibration. And that's the work that we as millennials need to do inside. And we need to start doing that together collaboratively. We don't just talk about the burnout, we untangle it, we rebuild around it, and we redefine success so it's sustainable. So all this is intentional to help you start calling out what your burnout is, where is it coming from, why it's happening, and what you're going to do to take action and creating some behavioral structures, some boundaries to get clarity and recalibrate with it. Let's be intentional about this together. Now, if you're someone who really feels that you want to work with someone to help you get clarity and help you identify what those boundaries need to be and help you get deeper in that conversation, I'm here for it. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me on social media, Coaching for Millennials. Also, Jose Miguel Longo is my social media handle. Leave a comment, send me a DM, whatever that might look like. If this episode resonates with you, take a look at my landing page. I have some great resources to help support you with this, but also I'm here to have the conversation. And if someone came to mind while you were listening to this episode, send it to a friend who is saying they're always fine, their friend who never asks for help, and their friend who is always the strong one. Because high functioning burnout hides in capable people, and capable people deserve support too. So a reminder for you today as I kind of close out this episode. You're not weak. You're overextended, and you're allowed to evolve. I'll say it again for the people in the back. You're not weak. You're overextended, and you're allowed to evolve. Thank you so much for spending a little part of your day with me today. I really appreciate you constantly listening. Be on the lookout for those resources that I've mentioned that are coming to you very soon. But for now, on my landing page, you can find the Unstuck and Focus Guide. You can also find my Coaching for Millennials Part 1 ebook and along with other goodies. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you Thursday. Bye, friends. Peace out.
Hey, amazing listener. If today's episode sparks some inspiration, don't keep it to yourself. Share the magic with your friends. And hey, if you're feeling the love, head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to our show and leave us our review. Your words fuel, fire, and help this community grow. Want to hear more about a specific topic? Have a burning question? Swing by coachingformillennials.com for the latest blogs, newsletter, and all things coaching. We're building a world where dreams become reality, one episode at a time. Thanks for being part of it. Can't wait to catch you into the next episode. Until then, all my love, light and shine.